Here we are on another morning mindset and mindset matters. And today we're going to do some real talk. You know what I mean? Because I think that it's important for us to understand what it means to be a believer who dreams. Okay, so if you believe in God and you believe that you are a child of God, we have to really understand the importance of our roles as a dreamer on this planet. And I don't think I talk about this enough, but we're going to start. So we're going to get real today, okay? Now, for most people, I think it would be good to know that I grew up in a Christian church. I grew up in a very strong Christian church. My parents divorced when I was 5, and so my mom dove headfirst into the Christian faith. And so I grew up in it. It's all that I knew. But here's what I will say is true. For most of my journey, I knew God at a head level, right? I knew all the Bible verses. I could quote anyone under the table about, what the scripture says. I went to all the youth groups. I did all the church things, right? Like I knew, but hindsight, I didn't know. And so it's taken me a long time to get to a place in my life that I've actually been able to start manifesting heaven on earth. Okay. And so when I started to write this book, my original dream was really about awakening the church. Okay. Because in my dream, before I started writing my book, Dream, I Dare You, I had this idea that there were all these people walking around with their heads down, right? Like they were shuffling their feet. They were here, but they weren't alive, right? Like they were going through the motions. They all looked the same. It was almost like a scene out of Trolls, the Bergens, right? And then all of a sudden in my dream, I saw the word dream highlight over the sky. It was as though fire shot as far as the eye could see. And it was in that moment that I sat up and I remembered thinking, this is the algorithm for life. But what the heck does that mean? Like, what was this vision? What did I see? And I was drawn to 2 scripture verses. Number 1, where it says that the world waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. Okay. The second one, it says, I'll read it to you. In the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit on all the people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams. And it was like in a second, a light bulb went on for me. And I thought, oh man, this is how we wake up to our lives. This is how we get back into alignment with ourselves, is that we wake up to the dreams that God has put on the inside of us. And so this whole thing started to come together over the course of the next couple of years, that I was downloaded this insight into how we as believers are the ones who are going to manifest heaven to earth and are going to be the light to this world, because we accept the responsibility of being a light in the dark world, of being a salt to a very bland world, right? And so in my dream, all of a sudden, when that word painted across the sky, it was as though people were waking up. It was as though we were rising up. It was as though we started to recognize who we were and the God in us. And it was as though lighthouses, all as far as the eye could see, were starting to shine again. And this is what I want to share with you today. If you believe in God at any level, and you look around at what's going on in the world, and right now we're seeing more crisis, more change, more need for support, more need for help. We're seeing opportunity like we've never seen it before. And if we're not careful, and if we don't take our rightful positions and start to be as bold as lions, we're missing the opportunity to bring the solutions to the problems that we're seeing in the world around us. If we are looking at the world, asking it to give us these solutions, we're misinformed, right? If we're looking around and we are asking the world to give us answers, we're in trouble. Because let me remind you that if we believe in God, the answer to any of the solutions that we see in our faith, in our family, in our career, in our community are on the inside of us, because He put those ideas on the inside of us. This is how we bring heaven to earth. This is why it is so important So important for us as dreamers, as believers, I should say, to dream, because we are the ones that then bring hope to this earth. We are the ones that then bring the salt to a very bland world. We are the ones that then turn the light on in dark places, right? Which means we shouldn't be surprised that the world around us is dark. It means that there is room for our light, right? If we are around a group of people or a community or a business or friends that are worried and fearful and doubtful and don't know what to do next, that means that you have a purpose in that area. And what that means is the way that we wake ourselves back up and the way that we wake those around us up is that we get in the flow with God and we start dreaming what God is dreaming. By dreaming what God is dreaming, we start doing what God is doing. Now we take our place, we take our position, and in boldness and in faith, we start making the impossible possible. We start doing the things that most people don't do. We start leading the triumph. We start taking our place in leadership in different areas, because now we recognize that we hold the answers to the solutions to the greatest problems in the world around us. That's what it means to be a believer. That's what it means to be a Christian. That's what it means to bring heaven to earth, is recognizing that we have a responsibility, and it's to look different. It's to act different. It's to speak different. It's to think different, because the only way that we're able to do what nobody else is doing is that we're able to think like nobody else is thinking, which means I have to start thinking how God thinks. I have to start recognizing that dreaming isn't woo-woo. It's not just something for the world. It's not just about sitting on a beach in Hawaii drinking Mai Tais. It's not just about a vision board and having all this nice stuff. Dreaming is about great and intense focus in a totally different realm that brings about possibilities with the consideration of the world around us. This is our responsibility. This is why we're here. So if there's problems, that means you have a solution. If there's issues that seem to be impossible, it means that you have the possibility on the inside of you. That means that if you don't know where to go next, the thing on the inside of you does. That means that when someone else is having a huge problem or obstacle, it means that you have the answer, you have the key, you have the solution on the inside of you. But you've got to understand that that means that you step in your role as a dreamer. God is a dreamer. He is a creator, right? It says in the very beginning, God created the heavens of the earth, which means that in his image, I am made in his image. So if he is made to be a creator, he is also a dreamer who looks at something that is dark and void and has no beauty or color and is able to make something brilliant and beautiful. It is time. It is time right now, more than ever before, for us to realign ourselves with God, for us to realign ourselves with the truth, and to remember that regardless of what's going on around us, that regardless of what's happening in the economy, regardless of what the news is saying, regardless of what your social media feed is doing, regardless of your fear, worry, and doubt, the one that is in you is greater than he that is in the world. Greater than. It means that there is no mountain too big, no ocean too wide. There is nothing that is impossible for those who believe. So may I remind you today that if you are losing hope, if you are starting to fit in, if you are starting just to go through the motions, if you are starting to settle for okay, fine, and good enough, may I remind you that dumbing down God doesn't still make him God. Dumbing him down and pretending that he doesn't hold all of the solutions and that the God in you isn't readily available doesn't still make him God. Here's what I would like to encourage you today. I would like to encourage you that the world is waiting in eager expectations for your dreams, because the things that you're dreaming are connected to God. And when you are connected with God, you start to bring heaven to earth. You start to make the impossible possible, and you start to be the light in this dark world, the salt of the earth. I encourage you to be bold today. I encourage you to lean into areas of disbelief and to find your truth, to find your groundedness in who God's created you to be. And may I remind you that yes, He has created you to be a creator, to be a dreamer, and to bring light to a very dark world. I encourage you to dream today. And I encourage you to start bringing your slice of heaven to earth simply because you said yes. So join me. Let's bring a little bit of heaven to earth. Let's light this dark world up with a lot more light. And let's remember that we are the salt. Because if not us, who?